How we doing today, guys? Sam and Alex here with this week's fishing report for you guys. I think it's been a while since me and you have done it.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks, maybe months.
Couple of weeks, couple of months, but we got a lot of stuff for you today. So starting out with what everybody's doing, the rockfish, right?
Rockfish.
Rock fishing is a little tough right now, but there's still plenty of fish to be caught. There's plenty of people that are going to be bait fishing out there. Soft crabs, live spot. Those kind of areas you're going to target structure, lighthouses, the bridge piling, stuff like that. I know some folks over at Thomas Point have been doing well live lining there in the morning before it gets hit too hard, of course. And then if you want to start pushing up north, there's a lot of schools of fish, but they're very, very spread out. They're not all packed together like they were a couple of weeks ago. Areas to check out would be Tolchester all the way up to Pools Island, Belvedere Shoals, areas like that. Like I said, they're going to be hard to find, but when you do find them, they're there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely one of those things where I guess we're in full-on summer mode where early morning, evening's going to be probably your best options there.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's getting so hot right now. I mean, I don't think those fish like that, really.
No.
But if you are out there, I guess, in the evening or early morning, topwater can be an option, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some topwater plugs here to show you a classic spook. This one here, it's kind of a big popper there. And then this one here is kind of a subsurface kind of deal from my understanding.
That's brand new, and that's one of the biggest, I guess, lures everybody's been talking about throughout the coast. It's pretty much, think about it like a jig slash rattle trap. There's two different models there, but this one here just glides when it goes down. So as you're vertical jigging, it's going to be different. Obviously, it's going to catch rockfish, a lot of different things, but just some to throw out there.
Yeah, times for that lure, breaking fish, or if you start to get a little bit of sun coming up pretty hard around at 8, 9 o'clock range, but you still think those fish are going to be in the shallow waters, that can be a fabulous option for you, for sure.
And there's different sizes and weights, so try them out.
In those same areas, though, perch fishing is plenty good.
Yeah.
It's that time of the year where you can find perch anywhere. Shallow waters in the rivers, deep water in the rivers, or main part of the bay. Fishing all sorts of structure there. If you want to bait fish for them, there's a million options there. Absolutely. You can go soft crabs, bloodworms, night crawlers, razor clams, minnows, all sorts of deals. Absolutely. But if you want to cast lures in the shallows, that's always a great time of year for that. Perch pounders are obviously going to be your most popular. But any small jig with a curly tail or something like that, just small presentations in the shallow. These fish are really aggressive this time of year.
Yeah. Of course, for you guys surf fishing around the area here, early to evening hours are going to be the best option for you guys. Can narrow mainly evening to nighttime with some of those, spec rigs and some other jigs. Other than that, I mean, let's talk about, I guess, a little bit what's been going on down south. If you're willing to make the trip way down, we just had the opening day of cobia, I believe 2 days ago. And if you are willing to make the trip far south towards the Virginia area, pretty much a Tomo at this point, you will have good success with big bull reds and some cobias. I know you were talking about the hook on these things, but this is exactly what you kind of want to be throwing out there.
Yeah, a large jig. The cool thing about this jig is a lot of times when you look at a cobia jig, it's going to be a 1, probably more so to a 2 to 4 ounce. But the problem becomes with that is sometimes that's just too heavy. Those fish are going to be on the surface, and sometimes they want that quick drop, absolutely. But a lot of times they don't want that fast drop. And the problem has been getting a good hook. And I mean, this is a gaff, an absolute gaff. You are not going to bend that out on anything you run into in the bay. And the cool thing about it is you have that lightweight with it. This is only 1.5 ounces, and they make this all the way down to 1 ounce. And that's just a perfect bait for them. Great color, too. I know they're kind of crazy colors, but when you're sight fishing for these fish, not only do you want the fish to see it, but you also want them to be able to eat it. And they don't seem to have a problem eating the orange, and you can see that really well. So you definitely get a good idea as to what your jig's doing down there.
And we got plenty of eels. So if you're on your way down there, remember, eels are super tough. They can resist, they can stay alive for a while. So stop by and get some eels on your way down.
So if you're down at that Virginia part and you find a lot of bluefish, break in small bluefish, stuff like that, a lot of times those big redfish, those big bulls are going to be underneath of them. So if you don't want to go to, say, the tunnel and fish live bait for, redfish, you're going to be looking for those schools of bluefish and then fishing underneath of them with a little bit heavier jig similar to this.
Yeah. Let's switch gears and talk about some freshwater stuff. Let's talk about snakehead fishing, I guess. Right now we're pretty much on the post-spawn, full-on swing spawn session for all these snakeheads. We've been seeing a lot of fry balls out there. This is just the first wave of fish out there. So with that saying, you're going to have fish on throughout pretty much different stages. Fish that are spawning, fish are pairing up, and fish are already post-spawn. So it's going to be a little bit tricky. We always talk about June being one of the hardest months months to kind of go fishing for them. But a couple things to do if you are going out there to be successful is I like to throw chatterbaits a lot this time of the year. And as you can see, we have two great local companies here. That is going to be a wide open hook on there. So if you're running areas where there's really no structure, that's going to be your best option. And if you're fishing on a structure like wood, grass, and whatnot, you're going to have this one here, which is weedless here from High Octane, and then this one's American Snakehead Customs. Two great ways to get fish to bite. Now, I will recommend not staying on the fry balls for too long. If they're not willing to bite, keep moving and find those fish that are willing to bite, and just keep throwing, search baits like this. If you do find some willing fish to bite on fry balls, throwing one of these dangle style frogs is the best way with the blade. The blade's there so you can sit underneath the water, gives it flash as it's sitting on top of the fry ball, and it gives it a great little flash on there. So that's one great way to do it. Besides that, talking about bass fishing now, I mean, we're talking about Upper Bay being pretty productive this month on the flats. And one great way to fish those grass edges is with a swim bait. And I know you like the little bluegill swim baits a lot, don't you?
Yeah, especially this time of the year. The bass are mostly all going to be post-spawn this time of the year, but what isn't post-spawn and what's in full go is the bluegill spawn. So the bass are definitely keyed into bluegill patterns for sure. And these are great baits. The Dark Sleeper, if you're not familiar with it from Megabass, it's been out there for a long time. Yeah. It's a really popular jig that has kind of taken over the entire bass fishing world. It's basically a swim bait that you fish just like you would a casting jig or a flipping jig or a football jig, just something you can fish open water, you can fish in shallow water. These are great. And this is their new bluegill design here. So it comes with some great bluegill patterns, but if you're not familiar with this bait, it also is weedless. So there's a hook right here in between of the dorsal fin, and as soon as a fish eats it, that's just soft plastic right in the way. So they're going to get that hook right away. This is a great little bait for them too. But any sort of swim baits, stuff like that, moving presentations in the summer months, usually what I tell folks is if you can try and get them on reaction baits to start, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great time of the year in the northern bay to rip rattle traps out of grass, because we got a lot of grass up there right now.
Or chatterbaits.
Chatterbaits, anything you can rip out of the grass is really a good bet this time of year.
Yep, I'll switching gears once again to, I guess, the beach now. We're in full summer mode, lots of sharks on the surf now. There's a lot of kingfish showing up to Chesapeake. Starting to see a little bit of the slowdown on some of those big bull reds people were catching. Typical for this time of year for it to kind of be hit or miss now. But once again, we got that. And then if you're fishing in the inlet, flounder, rockfish, bluefish, typical summer pattern right there. Gulp for your flounder, and moving baits for those rockfish and bluefish.
So pushing over back into the bay side, the islands, especially the Maryland, Virginia line islands, speckled trout fishing has been really good from what I've heard. Throwing small baits, battle tails, swim baits, all that kind of stuff in the shallows around the grass, all those islands down there.
Have you heard anything about crabbing?
Crabbing is doing pretty well. It's your typical summer stuff. You're starting to fish trout lines and move away from the traps. And that's been pretty good. And the rivers locally, I haven't heard too much from the Magazine, but the Severn in the south has been pretty good. And pushing over to the east side, Chester's been okay, but pushing down further south, Eastern Bay's been good, and going down from there.
Gotcha. Well, I guess that's all we got for you guys this week. So make sure to check us out next week again. And you guys have a good one.
Thank you, guys.